But for today, our book, it's kind of an unusual choice. And honestly, if you had asked me, I don't know, a year ago if I'd ever read a book by Arnold Schwarzenegger, I probably would have laughed at you. Because I'm not a big movie person, but whatever. I actually have loved this book. I am almost done with it, and I felt like the message was so powerful in this book, I wanted to share it with you guys. So I'm going to. Now, let's go ahead and let's get started. The link to the PDF is right here in this slide, if you would like to go ahead and click on that. And here we are. So, let's go ahead and get started. The book is called Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life. So many of our best people are lost. So many of the good ones don't know what they're doing with their lives. They're unhealthy. They're unhappy. 70% of them hate their jobs. Their relationships are unrewarding. They don't smile. They don't laugh. They have no energy. They feel useless. They feel helpless, as if life were pushing them down a road to nowhere. If you know what to look for, you will see these people everywhere, maybe even when you look in the mirror. It's okay. You're not broken. Neither are they. This is just what happens when you don't have a clear vision for your life, and you've taken either whatever you can get or whatever you thought you deserved. We can fix that, because everything good, all great change, starts with a clear vision. Vision is the most important thing. Vision is purpose and meaning. To have a clear vision is to have a picture of what you want your life to look like and plan for how to get there. The people who feel most lost have neither of those. They don't have the picture or the plan. They look in the mirror and they wonder, how the heck did I get here? But they don't know. They've made so many decisions and taken so many actions that have landed them in this place, and yet they have no idea what any of them were. They'll even argue with you. I hate this. Why would I have chosen it? Except no one forced that ring on their finger or put that second cheeseburger in their hands. No one made them take that dead-end job. No one made them skip class or miss workouts or stop going to church. No one made them stay up late every night playing video games instead of getting 8 hours of sleep. No one made them drink that last beer or spend their last dollar. Yet they fully believe what they're saying. And I believe they believe it. They feel as if life just sort of happened to them. They really think they had no choice in what became of their lives. And you know what? They're partly right. None of us has a choice about where we come from. I grew up in a small village in Austria at the beginning of the Cold War. My mother was very loving. My father was strict, and he could be physically abusive, but I loved him very much. It was complicated. I'm sure your story is complicated too. I bet growing up was more difficult than the people around you think it was. We can't change those stories, but we can choose where we go from there. There are reasons and explanations for all the things that have happened to us up to this point, good and bad. For the most part, it wasn't because we didn't have a choice. We always have a choice. What we don't always have, unless we create it, is something to measure our choices against. That is what a clear vision gives you, a way to decipher whether a decision is good or bad for you, based on whether it gets you closer or further away from where you want your life to go. Does the picture you have in your mind of your ideal future get blurrier or sharper because of this thing you're about to do? Now that's kind of cool, right? You think about the choice you're about to make and you think, does this work with my vision? Do things get clearer for me as to how I accomplish what I want to? Or not really? Do they get kind of fuzzier and this doesn't really relate? Right? The happiest and most successful people in the world do everything in their power to avoid bad decisions that confuse matters or drag them away from their goals. Instead, they focus on making choices that bring clarity to their vision and bring them closer to achieving it. It doesn't matter if they're considering a small thing or a huge thing. The decision-making process is always the same. The only difference between them and us, between me and you, between any two people, is the clarity of the picture we have for our future, the strength of our plan to get there, and whether or not we have accepted that the choice to make that vision a reality is ours and ours alone. So how do we do that? How do we create a clear vision from scratch? I think there are two ways to do it. You can start small and build out until a big, clear picture reveals itself to you. Or you can start very broad and then, like the lens on a camera, zoom in until a clear picture snaps into focus. That's how it was for me. Start broad and zoom in. The earliest vision I had for my life was very broad. It was of America. Nothing more specific than that. I was 10 years old. I'd just started school in Graz, the big city just east of where I grew up. It seemed like everywhere I turned in those days, I was seeing the most amazing things about America. In my school lessons, on magazine covers, in newsreels that played before shows at the movie house. There were pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge and those Cadillacs with the big tail fins driving down massive 6-lane highways. I watched movies made in Hollywood and rock and roll stars on talk shows filmed in New York. I saw the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building, which made the tallest building in Austria look like a tool shed. I saw streets lined with palm trees and beautiful girls on Muscle Beach. It was America in surround sound. Everything was big and bright. For an impressionable kid like me, those images were like Viagra for dreams. They should have come with a warning, too, because the visions of life in America they aroused did not go away after 4 hours. I knew this is where I belong. Doing what? I had no clue. Like I said, it was a broad vision. The picture was very fuzzy. I was young. What did I know? What would I learn, though? What I would learn, though, is that some of the strongest visions emerge like this, from our obsessions when we're young, before our opinions about them have been affected by other people's judgments of them. Talking about what to do when you're dissatisfied with your life, the famous big wave surfer Garrett McNamara once said that you should go back to when you were 3, figure out what you love doing, figure out how to make that your life, then make the roadmap and follow it. He was describing the process for creating a vision, and I think he's absolutely correct. It's obviously not that easy, but it is that simple, and it can begin by looking back in time and thinking very broadly about the things you used to love. Your obsessions are a clue to your earliest vision for yourself. If only you had paid attention to them in the beginning. So I'm going to pause here for a second, because I want you to stop for just a moment. And as an advised class, I want you to think back, like every single student and teacher, think back on when you were little. What was it that you really loved? What was it that you were like, oh, that's so amazing, I just love it? All right? For me, there were 2 things. 1, I loved my teachers. I have always, always, always loved teachers. And look where I am, right? Part of my vision has come to fruition. I work with teachers and with students every day. It's awesome, and I love it. The other part of my vision is I always, always, always loved books. I always loved books. And I loved writing. I loved writing everything I possibly could. And so still a part of my vision that I'm still working on, right, is how do I get there? How do I get it to where I have that combination, right, of I love teaching, I love writing. How can I put those 2 things together and start taking steps towards getting there? So for you, I want you to pause and think, what is it that I really loved when I was little? What was I fascinated with or I thought was awesome? Pause and stop and talk as a group. If you have time to finish the rest of this video, awesome. If you don't, no worries. Have a great discussion and really think about your vision. I have to say, this book is incredibly inspirational, by the way. I've been reading this, and ever since I started reading it, I started eating better. I started sleeping better. Like, being like, okay, I gotta go to bed. It's time for bed. It's time for bed. Turn off Jeopardy. Okay? I've started reading more, which was a major goal of mine. And I got back to work on a book that I'm working on. So I want you to think about it, right? Your vision. What do you see for yourself? What do you really want? Okay, if you're back, let's go ahead and let's keep looking, all right? There's a few more pages in here. Look at someone like Tiger Woods showing off his putting skills on the Mike Douglas show when he was only 2 years old. Or the Williams sisters. A lot of people don't know this, but their father, Richard, exposed all 5 of his kids to tennis when they were young, and they all had talent. But it was only Venus and Serena who showed passion for the sport, obsession. And so, tennis became the framework for how they grew up and how they saw themselves. It was the same for Steven Spielberg. He wasn't a big movie fan when he was a boy. He loved TV. Then, one year, his dad got him a little 8mm home movie camera for Father's Day to record their family road trips, and Steven started to mess around with it. Around the same age I was when I was first learning about America, Steven discovered movie making. He made his first movie when he was only 12 years old. He made one to earn a merit badge for photography in the Boy Scouts when he was 13. He even took the camera with him on Boy Scout trips. For Steven, who had just moved with his family all the way across the country from New Jersey to Arizona, movie making gave him his first bit of direction. No pun intended, right? It wasn't moving to Hollywood. It wasn't winning an Oscar for Best Picture or Best Director. It wasn't being rich and famous or working with glamorous movie stars. Those more specific ambitions would all come later. In the beginning, his vision was simply to make movies. It was big and broad, like it was for Tiger, golf, Venus and Serena, tennis, and me, America.